The following program is rated T for teen for the use of tools and materials that can be harmful to unsupervised usage. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello everyone, Mr. Waugh here from Mr. Waugh Media, and yes, that is my actual name. And today's episode, we'll be working on Small Scale Cityscapes. Say that 5 times fast. Welcome back to the show, everyone, and as I said, today we're working on tiny terrain. This is partially inspired by a previous episode that I put out, and it was really well received, so I wanted to jump back into that world. Whereas that episode was more fantasy-based stuff, this one's going to be more science fiction-y and modern era. And the beauty of working at such a small scale is that you can use it for games like Mech Warrior or Dropzone Commander, or you can scale it down even further to like 6mm, and that's where you're getting into more GHQ and epic scale. This is also inspired by a convention that I was part of during the summer, where I was teaching people how to make terrain. The turnout left a little bit to be desired, but 2 people that really made a difference were Mr. Fox, who's my old art teacher, so that was really cool to see him there, and of course Roger, who is a really good friend of the channel, so thank you too, this is for you guys. Now this is going to be a quick and easy tutorial, it's only a handful of steps, so let's get started.
Alright, the main ingredient that we're going to use today is the sheets of styrofoam that are sandwiched between 2 layers of paper, and if you're really lucky like me here, you manage to peel it off in one go. Once the styrofoam is exposed underneath, that is the main thing that we're going to be interacting with. So I'm going to start drawing in with a pen here all the different windows. Now this is completely dealer's choice of how many you want to do. I'm doing them in a little column here. I'll probably be able to get about 8 wide by maybe 10 high. Depending on what scale you're working with, obviously, this works really well for 6mm or the 10mm. Obviously, this is time consuming, so I'm going to do a couple rows here. We'll do a bit of a time jump, just save us a little bit of space here. So you can see I got 2 rows, and then here's all the rows. And it just takes a little bit of time, right? All right. With that out of the way, we're going to go with a very small, thin knife blade here. And again, this is just sort of a time consuming. You just put them in each of the sides of the window, and then you pop it out. Yeah, again, this is something that's going to take a little bit of time here to get the entire sheet, so I'm going to do a row, maybe 2 here on camera. It's pretty straightforward, right? Pop them out. That's what it looks like. We'll do another time lapse in a second here with the entire sheet pretty much popped out. Excellent. Get those out of the way. Hold on to those little bits too, they'll come in handy later. And that's what the sheet looks like. Once that's done, we're going to start working on the base. For this one, it's just 4 inches by 5 inches, nothing too crazy here. I'm not going to peel the paper off, that's not too important. And now it is time to start working on the walls. So what I found was when you have a square, or more or less square sheet like this, if you sort of hack it at an angle from one side to the other, that's going to give you 2 massive walls to work with. Just break it off. Don't worry about how clean it is, right? Obviously this is a destroyed building, so it doesn't have to be the nicest thing on the market. This one's a little bit higher, so I'll probably break that top part off. And once I'm more or less satisfied with that, we'll get our hot glue gun out, put a nice strip down, and just bolt it into place. There we go. And like I said, I'm going to snap that one off just so it's a little bit more symmetrical. And I'll break off the edges here just to make it look a bit more rugged. And with that, we're just going to bolt it into place. I'm going to leave a little bit on the outside for a sidewalk and also so I can put a little bit of rubble out there to really make it look interesting. And I got a second sheet here. I'll break that up a little bit more, and this will be for the back wall. Now you can make this one just as big as the other one. I actually found it easier to make the second one a lot smaller than the original, just to make it easier to get your hand in there and whatnot. But again, as always, dealer's choice of how you want this thing to look. So once again, I'll bolt that into place. I'm pretty happy with that. Now, taking the leftover bits, we're just going to snap these up, break them down really small to show the destroyed walls. And these will get glued into place between the gaps here. Like so. Alright, nothing too crazy here. And this one is another sheet. I am going to start hacking this up into little pieces. And this is going to be the floor. Now, obviously, realistically, there would be a floor for every set of windows, right? But because we're dealing on such a small scale, accuracy can go a little bit out the window. I'm just going to hack this up a little bit, make it a little bit more jagged, make sure it fits in there. And I'm probably going to go with about 3 stories for each of these taller buildings. I did one that had about 5 stories. It was a giant skyscraper. It looked really cool. You'll probably see that near the end of the episode here. But for these basic ones, I think 3 stories looks pretty good. Again, if you want to go all out and put multiple levels in, you can do that. But again, because of the scale, you probably won't be able to fit the figurines in there, so 2 to 3 is probably a safer bet. And still, it looks really cool. Right here, I'm just going to slice this final one, and you'll notice it is just big enough you can actually still fit a 6mm figurine up there, from Epic Scale especially. And with that side out of the way, we're now going to go to the rear. And this one's going to be pretty basic. It's just one panel. I'll try to match it with the ground floor there just to, make it a little bit symmetric here. Like that. All right, I'm pretty happy with these floors. Like I said, plenty of space in there to fit both 10mm in, 6mm. With that out of the way, I'm just going to go back to putting some rubble everywhere. You can see I'm gluing up the leftovers on the outside, in the middle here. And yeah, just keep all the little spare bits. They come in really handy. This is a super simple build, right? That's pretty much everything you'll need. All right, with the main build out of the way, we're now going to add some sand all over it. So I've got my clear Elmer's glue here. Spread it around the base on the top part and on the side here. Slide it like that. There we go. And make sure you have a nice container like this so you don't have any excess spill. Obviously, this stuff's going to get everywhere, so it's good to have it all contained. I'll tap off the leftovers here. And we'll just do all 4 sides. I'll also add some in the middle. I might scatter some along the little pieces of rubble to show tiny bits of debris and that kind of thing. Make it look really worn down. There we go. All 4 sides are done. Now I'm going in the middle, like I said. This one's going to be a little bit tricky. In hindsight, maybe I should have done the ground floors a little bit later so I can actually get my finger in there. But whatever. We live and learn. No big deal here. I'll put some sand in there, knock off the excess. And besides, once you get this all painted up, it's going to look fantastic. Now I'm going to add little droplets here and there, again, to show that little extra little tidbits here and there. Wipe off the excess off my hands, throw the sand down like so. All right, there we go. This looks pretty good. And this only took, I think, under half an hour for me to bang this piece out, and I have multiple other ones that I'm working on at the same time. Biggest time commitment is obviously drawing out the windows and punching them out, but once that's out of the way, we're finished the build and we can move on to the painting phase. Now for this one, I've used Game Master Terrain Primer from Army Painter, and this stuff is fantastic because you can use it on styrofoam and it's not going to dissolve the material. So highly recommend it if you're doing big batches or any art project that you're going to use any styrofoam elements. Once I've given the spray paint plenty of time to dry, it's time to go into our first layer, and this one's called Baneblade Brown from Citadel Paints. Now to recreate this one, it's sort of a tannish kind of brown color, but as always, you can use whatever colors you like. It is, after all, your build. But something I've sort of touched on in the past was I wanted to sort of do more realistic stonework. So I found that using a couple different shades of gray mixed with this brown in particular, it just really brings it to life. I don't know what it is. It's not organic, you know what I mean? Like it's stonework and cement, but there's just something about it that makes it a little bit more realistic. So I've been playing around with this a little bit more, and I've actually been very happy with the end results. So I'm just going to dry brush this over, I'd say 70-80% of the surfaces, like so, and that's going to give us our first layer. Once that's had time to dry, we'll go in with our next layer. It's called Administratum Gray. For this one, I'd probably say to recreate it, it's about 3 parts white, 1 part black. It even looks like there's a little tinge of blue in there. I'm not too sure, but this one's going to get dry brushed over a lot of the areas, but in particular, I'm also focusing along the edges. It just really makes everything pop out. It's almost like a highlight on it. And again, experiment with it a little bit, and you're probably going to be very happy with the results. Mixed with the Baneblade Brown, it just looks more realistic, and I'm really happy so far with this. And that's what it looks like with this basic layer. Nothing too complicated. Give it a little bit of time to dry. We can move on to the next one. For this, we're just going to go in with just straight up white. And this one is going to go heavily along all the edges, again, to highlight it all, really punch it in. And over the rest of the surfaces, it's a super duper light dusting. There's hardly anything in my bristles. What's my motto, people? The lighter the color, the lighter your brush strokes, and the lighter the paint load. Boom. Just a little bit more here, and we're done with this layer. That's all it takes. Super easy, quick layer, and it just makes everything pop out that much more. Do the inside, get the interior, and voila! There we go, the white layer is finished. And with that said and done, the entire build is finished. Now this was a quick build, and I hope that I presented it in a way that makes it quick and easy for you guys to follow. As you can see here, it works fantastic for the small stuff. This is 10mm from Dropzone Commander, or even smaller with the 6mm epic scale stuff. But the beauty is you can scale this from the smaller end. You can go all the way up to 28mm if you so chose, like the bolt action stuff or Warhammer. And with all these pieces that I've laid out here, it easily and comfortably covers a 3x3 table. Heck, you could probably even stretch this out to a 4x4 if you so chose. You just get a bunch of buddies together and start cranking these out over a weekend. You'll have enough for a full battlefield in no time. Overall, I'm very happy with this build. I think it turned out great. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And until next time, I've been Mr. Waugh, signing off. Well, that has been today's episode. I really hope you guys liked it and maybe found some useful information in there. If you did, make sure that you hit the like, the share, and subscribe button down below, and please pass this around to all your friends. We're really trying to build the channel from the ground up. If there's anything that you want me to build in an upcoming episode, let me know in the comments down below, and maybe we'll be able to build it for you in the future. On that note, I've been Mr. Waugh from Mr. Waugh Media, signing off.